It's safe to say that nowadays you're having to juggle kind of more types of spaces within potentially the same foot space, square meterage of a room. Has it become more complex ensuring that the ratios of space is right? If people expect more than just a desk, a meeting room, and a lunch area, has it become more complex, making sure that you're not providing too much of one thing and completely ignoring something else?
I wouldn't say it's been any more complex. It's what we do. They do right in our business, but it's certainly changed. It's changed a lot. So, as I say, if you think back to the original brief of what was in a workspace, and then the new brief, what's in a workspace, the main differences obviously have been that you're what we call the focus workspace. So it's where you do process work or your team work, open plan desk areas basically. It's reduced significantly. And in replace of that has gone up the collaboration spaces, places to take calls, dropping working spaces as well. So significant balance has shifted in that type of workspace. And then depending on what type of company you are, we've seen a significant change in client space as well, and social space. And in a way, it is harder to judge one space type to the next. So when we benchmark our projects, we've got client space, workspace, social space, and common amenities, back of house things. And there's much more of a merging between generally client space, workspace, and social space. So if you're a company that takes your clients into social space to have informed meetings, what do you then call that as? If you invite them into your workspace, to use it as well. So the naming process is getting harder. So I presume that is becoming more complex to answer your question. But overall, in terms of sort of like your overall square footage, in these past 2 years, as I say, working with clients from all around the UK, looking at their portfolios, we found reductions overall in terms of the total square footage. But that's not to say that all of their offices reduced in size. So many firms who had offices that perhaps hadn't been designed in the past 10 years, they were growing based on the increase in modern workplace settings, and other ones that perhaps had been designed in the past 5 years, we could find space reductions. So it wasn't a one size fits all. It was making them all up to a new modern standard with all these new work settings, rebalancing those space types, giving a good common standard of service and experience on all those different offices, really.
We actually did a workplace survey where we asked a series of questions and kind of like what people wanted to see in their workplace, what they expected to happen, and if they knew what's going to happen. And we asked whether people were going to expand or consolidate space. And I went into it thinking that it would be very much we're reducing space would be the clear winner in the poll. But it was actually kind of 50-50 down the middle. And there were some other questions later on which were about what types of space they expected more or less of. And again, these were quite split. And it's later on that we realised we hadn't included some key, like we made it a very binary question. You're either going to expand or reduce. And we'd realised that most people are probably going to repurpose or rethink space as a whole. So instead of having enormous offices within key cities, some people are going to break down into just one big office and then smaller satellites to make it easier for the people that had to commute to not have to commute so far or not have to relocate themselves to the big city in the first place. And it was only by kind of asking further questions that we saw that these plans were more common than we thought, and growth in it in one office didn't mean that's what was happening across the board in all their spaces. It's become very much more like a location by location is a bit more free to say how they want to work.